Since we lost Rob Reiner last month, I recently had mourned his passing by reviewing some of his movies. And a lot of them were pretty good in my view and were pretty big. But there's this one film he did in 1994 that really did not get much attention as the titular character this film got from his parents. So he decided to try to find some new ones or return to them. And I'm going to ask, is this film I'm about to review really that bad? Or can I defend this film like a judge would because he had to go before a judge, to be with his parents? Well, find out as I review the film called North. Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. I'm the Big D, and this time around, I bring to you a review of the 1994 dramedy adventure flick North, released by Columbia along with Castle Rock Entertainment in association with New Line Cinema. Directed by Rob Reiner from a story written by Andrew Scheinman and Alan Zweibel, based on his 1984 novel North, the tale of a 11-year-old boy who becomes a free agent and travels the world in search of the perfect parents. The film was released on July 22nd, 1994, and features Elijah Wood in the title role, along with a big all-star cast of so many of them, including Bruce Willis, who appears and also serves as our narrator, and a young Scarlett Johansson briefly appears in her film debut. And again, it features an all-star cast of appearances from Jon Lovitz, Jason Alexander, Alan Arkin, Dan Aykroyd, Kathy Bates, Faith Ford, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Abe Vigoda, John Ritter, and even Queen Reba herself, as in McEntire, of course. This was also the final theatrical film for Alexander Godunov before his death the following year. This was heavily dissed by critics and has been referred to as one of the worst films ever made. But let's get into the story now. Skilled in academics, sports, and drama, and praised for his good work and obedience, 11-year-old North feels unvalued by his own parents. The Easter Bunny, a man in a pink bunny suit at a shopping mall, recommends North simply explain his feelings to him. But North says their neglect makes them undeserving. Helped by his best friend Winchell, who works on the school paper, North plots to divorce his parents, hiring ambulance-chasing lawyer Arthur Belt to file the papers. The announcement shocks his parents, leaving them unresponsive when Judge Buckle grants his petition, giving him one summer to find new parents or go to an orphanage. North's first stop is Texas, where his parental candidates, Ma and Paul Tex, promise to use their wealth to fulfill North's desires. In a musical number set to the Bonanza theme, they explain that their first son, Buck, died in a stampede and they plan to use North to replace him, planning out his entire life in advance, including his future wife. They also feed him massive quantities of food, hoping he will become as obese as Buck was. Gabby, a sharpshooting cowboy, who also happens to be the man in the Easter Bunny suit, presents North with a souvenir from his act. A silver dollar with a bullet hole shot through its center, and explains that North is unhappy with the Texas because he wishes to be appreciated for who he is, not made into someone else. So he goes to Hawaii where he meets Governor and Mrs. Ho, who are struggling with infertility and are eager to adopt. Believing North's presence will attract mainlanders, the governor unveils a tourism campaign referencing the classic Coppertone ad and showcasing North's rare, well, not rare, I mean bare buttocks. The man in the bunny suit reappears on the beach in the guise of a tourist with a metal detector, explains that parents shouldn't use children for personal gain. In Inuit village In Alaska, two more prospective parents calmly send their elderly grandfather out to sea on an ice floe to die with dignity. Nort realizes winter is approaching and his summer is almost up. Back home, Nort's catatonic parents are put in a museum display. His quest has inspired children worldwide to hire Arthur and Winchell to facilitate leaving their own parents. Nort's next prospects are Amish, but the lack of conveniences quickly disappoints him. His experiences in Zaire, China, and Paris are equally fruitless. Finally, he finds the Nelsons, an ideal family who give him attention and appreciation, but he still, well, feels unsatisfied. Now I'm going to the ending. Stop this video at once. Go to the description box below. Fast forward to the time below as I count down. If you've seen this already, which I don't know if you have, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. In despair, North escapes to New York City, where Winchell and Arthur, now rich and powerful, fear their lucrative business will fail and plot to assassinate him. On the run, he receives a videotape from his newly revived parents begging for his forgiveness and his return home. The Bunny Suit Man appears as stand-up comedian Joey Fingers to encourage him. North is mobbed at the airport by kids who followed his example, angry about his returning to his parents. To escape, he ships himself home in a FedEx box. Recognizing the delivery driver from his other appearances, North asks if he is his guardian angel. The man denies meeting North, but as a FedEx representative, he resembles a guardian of important items. Excuse me. North is delivered to his house prior to the deadline, but as he runs toward his parents, Winchell's assassin, Al, takes aim. As he squeezes the trigger, North awakens in the now empty mall. The Easter Bunny takes him home, where his parents, who had been worried during his absence, greet him warmly. It has all been a dream, but in his pocket, North discovers Gabby's silver dollar. North says he has always had it for good luck. He goes inside as his parents agree to bring him dinner in bed. End of story. So, what did I think of North? Well, I've only seen this twice and what have you. At first, the film was okay, but I decided to give it another chance before going to this review because I thought I'd do one more Rob Reiner film outside my almost week-long tribute to him, since this has been dubbed as one of the worst films ever made. Since usually I like to try to do bad movies in January at a time. Well, it's better on the second time watch, but it's still not convincing what have you. But I still feel like this is a nice film, but this film is way underrated and what have you. It's been called one of the worst films ever made, but this film bombed at the box office big time, making only 12 million on its 40 to 50 million dollar budget. And if that wasn't enough, critics were hard on this. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film sits at a mere 12%, where they say, land with schmaltz and largely bereft of evident narrative purpose, the film represents an early major disappointment from previously short-handed director Rob Reiner. Yes, this was a major disappointment from since he already had several big films done already since he started a decade prior with This Is Spinal Tap, and he already had a pretty big family film a few years before this in The Princess Bride. And already had some other hits like The Sure Thing, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and just before this, A Few Good Men. North ended up putting a dent in Reiner's directing career and what have you. Anyway, audience survey by CinemaScore gave this a B minus. Kenneth Turan stated in his review, the problem overall is not so much that the humor, especially in the parent tryout situations, is forced, but that it simply is not there at all. So little is going on in the mildest of fantasies that it's hard to even guess what kinds of emotional effects were aimed at in the first place. And then wrote, how could Reiner, whose touch for what pleases a mass audience is usually unfailing, have strayed this far? Leonard Clady of Variety thought the film was a notable misfire that fails to find the balance or tone that would make the parable work, and described it as a unique breed of misconceived entertainment that only a filmmaker of talent is capable of making. However, Joe Brown of the Washington Post called the film a gentle, harmless, and rare pedestrian fantasy that seldom raises more than a chuckle. True. Stephen Hunter of the Baltimore Sun wrote that the film had no characters, only cutouts, describing it as just there, dim and witless, occasionally rancidly racist. Janet Maslin of the New York Times was somewhat more positive, writing that the film doesn't always work, but much of it is clever in amusingly unpredictable ways. Please stand by. After this, the film got nominated for 6 Razzies, including Worst Picture, but lost to Color of Night, which I don't recall hearing about nor have I seen. And also, Rob Reiner was nominated for Worst Director, but lost to Steven Seagal for On Deadly Ground. Yes, it got nominated for 6 of them, but lost all of them. Despite the terrible reviews and what have you, but there were some else, Siskel and Ebert. Well, according to Roger Ebert, he said he hated the movie. Hated every simpering, stupid, vacant audience insulting moment of it. Hated the sensibility that thought anyone would like it. Hated the implied insult to the audience by itself that anyone would be entertained by it. Oh dear. Oh boy. Well, and he and Gene Siskel both pronounced it the worst of 1994, an opinion they each came to independently. Despite Despite all this, however, years later, in an interview with the American Archive, well, not, I'm getting wrong place, the Archive of American Television, Reiner defended the film by saying, I love doing it, and some of the best jokes I ever had in a movie are in the movie. I made this little fable, and people got mad at me because I had done When Harry Met Sally and Misery and A Few Good Men, and everybody said, oh, it should be a more important kind of movie. I said, why? Why can't you just make a little slice of a fable or something? Well, that's understandable and what have you. I mean, come on. Sure, this might not be one of Reiner's best works, but still, I found the film to be fair and what have you on the second time watch. So I like it a little, but maybe not a whole lot. But this film, I think it's gotten a big It's just a huge misunderstanding and what have you. And I think if you are interested in something like this, I would recommend you give it a one-time watch. But if not, then I just say just skip it and watch maybe The Princess Bride. Given the fact that this was Reiner's second family-friendly film next to The Princess Bride. But anyway, nevertheless, I still enjoyed because not just because it was might not have been the best, but it had such a big all-star cast. We had Mark Scheinman, who did the score for the film, did a pretty good job on the film score. For the cast, we have young Elijah Wood after he had recently appeared in another film they got hated on, which was The Good Son, which came out a year prior. He plays the titular character of North. I've got to say, he's really good. Jon Lovitz played Arthur Belt. Yeah, not too bad. Bruce Willis, however, yeah, this was a surprise. He plays the narrator. He's our narrator and the benevolent advisors. The Easter Bunny and Gabby, the tourist sleigh driver, Joy Fingers, FedEx driver. Yeah. For the rest of this big all-star cast, we have Jason Alexander, who was already big on Seinfeld, which was also produced by Castle Rock, as North's father. Alan Arkin played Judge Buckle. Dan Aykroyd was Paul Tex. Not too bad. Kathy Bates, who of course recently appeared in Reiner's big hit Misery, was the Alaskan mother. Robert Costanzo played Al. Faith Ford played the character Don Nelson. Graham Greene was the Alaskan father. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was Noah's mother. Matthew McCurley played Winchell. Reba McEntire, or should I say Queen Reba, was Ma Tex. John Ritter was Ward Nelson. Lauren Tom, Mrs. Ho. Abe Vigoda, who you know of Barney Miller fame as the Alaskan grandfather. Keon Young as Governor Ho. Let's see, we have Alexander Godunov in his final performance appearing as the Amish father. Kelly McGillis, you know of Top Gun fame as the Amish mother. We have a young Scarlett Johansson in her film debut as Laura Nelson and Jesse Ziegler as Bud Nelson. There's also appearances from Ben Stein, Rosalind Chow, Richard Belzer, and even the composer of the film, Mark Scheinman, is a piano player, and the writer of the actual North novel itself, Alan Zweibel, as the baseball coach. So you got to admit this has a pretty good cast and what have you. But where, if you're interested in not the United States, avoid it. But if you're interested and you're curious about it, you're hearing this story, if you had what it took, then give it a one-time watch. You be the judge. So, what did you think of North? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, consider clicking the like button, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel, you know the rest. And despite this was supposed to come up the other day, I am finally going to give you my review of Any Which Way You Can later tonight. So stay tuned for that. So if you like this, check out my reviews for these other two films that came out in 1994 that weren't quite well received, and both of these had a certain young fellow named Macaulay Culkin in them. In the upper left-hand corner is my review of The Page Master. The upper right-hand corner is my review of Richie Rich. Or if you'd like, go to the bottom left-hand corner and see my review of Rob Reiner's first family-friendly film in The Princess Bride from 1987. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.